Hey guys, welcome to Uncut with Colby and Andrew. We're on episode 4 already. Crazy.
I know.
Yeah, so okay, when you think of surf photography, who do you think of?
Easy. ZAK NOYLE. So ZAK is a world-renowned extreme sports surf photographer and athlete, pioneer in a new generation of surf photography. He's collaborated, been sponsored by all the biggest brands, developed merchandise. You probably have his backpack.
Yeah, I have his
Everybody
backpack.
has his backpack. He is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and just started a new agency right here in Hawaii.
Nice. We're so excited to have him on today's episode. So today we got ZAK NOYLE in the house.
Woo! Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys. And
Yeah, we're stoked.
I know. I'm always like, we should catch up. So we just are catching up on the podcast.
this is a great way to catch up.
We always have like lunch and catch up and whatnot. And like, you know, it's like, oh, let's just talk to other people. We love to talk and hear their story and whatnot. So
I know. We're basically just like hanging out with friends on this podcast.
Yeah.
Epic. Love it.
So you're an amazing photographer that turned into an entrepreneur, filmmaker now. I mean, you do so many things. So tell us about like where your journey started.
Well, my journey started about 20 years ago and just really enjoyed and loved to shoot water photography. So my dad's a commercial photographer and he shoots food, fashion, hotels, very different photography.
I love Rick.
Yeah,
Shout out to Rick.
Great. And in high school, I actually failed photography.
Oh my
gosh.
wow.
So he was more bummed that I failed the class versus it was photography. And, you know, I kind of just did my own path in my own way and wanting to learn. And so when I went to college versus like taking like film or photography, I actually took business. And I was more interested in like business and like growing that side of it and marketing than anything else. And the photography came out of a love for the ocean. And that's where I started to develop that and started to then work for some surf magazines and started to travel and work for brands and do that. And so my path came from a love of the ocean and being able to share those moments with people like my mom or people that would never be in the ocean, you know, and, you know, 99.99% will never see the waves firsthand of how I see them in the water. And so being able to like captivate the audience and capture these moments was something so important for me to be able to share.
I mean, I think when you say first like surf photography, I think a lot of people think ZAK NOYLE when they hear surf photography.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like how that even started. Like, was it just taking dad's cameras out and like just?
What was your first camera?
It was a disposable camera.
Okay.
So I took a disposable. I would go to the gas station before I go to Sandy's, and I'd buy a disposable camera. I remember, right? The one
sick.
right by Kahala Mall.
Yeah,
they always had
yeah.
the little disposable ones. You could actually reload the disposables that they had.
Oh.
But I'd like go grab one every couple times and reload it here and there.
One of those water ones, those underwater ones.
Yeah.
I think they still sell those.
Yeah.
And so my dad had just started shooting digital. He was one of the first in Hawaii. I want to say this was like 96, and he was shooting with a Phase 1.
Oh, nice.
And it was like 1 or 2 megapixels.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
it was a scan back. And so he would, you know, his studio was downstairs of the house, and I was 12, 13 years old, and you couldn't turn on like the blender. You couldn't turn on the TV because it would fluctuate the power, and it was like a 2-minute scan. And it would ruin it. So like, okay, we're going to scan. No one do anything. You're like sitting there like, wait, okay, now. Like, so
Turn the TV back on now.
yeah, I mean, it was mainly for food, but like if you had people, they'd be like trying to stand still there for that scan. And 1-2 megapixel was just like all the rage. So at the time, he's like, you know, you want to shoot surf and you want to shoot your friends, shoot film still. So he let me use his Nikon OS 5. Then I got like a camera from John Mozo at the time in a housing, and it was a Canon A2.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was doing that for a while and kept shooting film. And it was great because I would go downstairs, the refrigerator was filled with film.
Awesome.
And then I would drop it off to the lab, and I'd never have to pay anything. My dad wasn't so happy because I take all his he didn't care about the old film, but all the bills would go back to him. I just put it under his name. Every time at the lab, drop off all these things. Oh, can you do this? Can you scan these things? And do it. And he's like, wait. So little by little, then I started kind of jumping into digital from that point. But yeah, that was kind of the start of it, was really just a love of the ocean and being able to go capture these moments and be comfortable in the water to be able to do so.
Besides your dad, who was some of your like mentors when you're just starting out?
John Mozo was a great mentor. Brian Bielman. There's a few different ones that really kind of helped me, and my dad like knew them, so it was always like great. I could like go talk to them or go see and kind of shoot in my own way. I mean, my walls in my bedroom were covered with surf photography, from the magazines. And at one point, as I started going a couple more years in and shooting, I started like putting my photos with like the cover tops. You know what I mean? Just my like visualization and doing that. So to be able to like have done that, to then having like, 10, 15 different covers on Surfer magazine was such a wild progression of like visualization.
Yeah, you manifested that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was something that like to this day, I think is something so special. I mean, given that there is no Surfer magazine anymore and really having that. And it was weird because I started shooting for Transworld Surf magazine first, and they started sending me around the world traveling to shoot surf. And my dad was very proud and wanted doing it. And side note, anything I was doing, he was supportive of. It didn't matter that it wasn't photography. He never made me come carry his sandbags or set up his lights or anything. I was welcome to. And so that was like the great thing. And then when it's photography, it was the same support. It wasn't because it was photography. And, doing all these things. But Transworld was awesome, and he was like proud. And then Surfer kind of approached me, and I started going to work for Surfer as a senior staff. And that I could just see a difference in him, like change of just like how proud he was, because he grew up in South Africa, and growing up he had Surfer magazine. So now when he called his buddies and he said I was working for Surfer, that was something they knew. Transworld, they're like, oh, I don't really know. It's American magazine. Oh, that's so awesome. That's cool. But like Surfer, they're like, whoa, he's working. You know what I mean? I could just hear a difference in his voice, which I thought was really cool. That was so cool. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, and I was a senior staff for 8 years with Surfer and traveled the world and with the best surfers who have become some of my best friends. And it's been epic,
Yeah. The story that we always hear about is like when, I don't know what year of the Eddy it was, but you spent like how many hours out there. I just like love hearing you tell it because it's so epic and it shows like your dedication to the craft. What year was that?
Yeah, that was 2016. And so in 2016, I was actually in Micronesia on a trip with John, and we like looked and we're like, oh, that's a really big swell, but I don't know, they had already called the contest and then like called it off because it wasn't big enough. They're gonna do it, and I ended up like coming home from that trip and going to Japan to go snowboard. And I kept watching. I was like, oh man, it's getting bigger. It's gonna happen. So I ended up cutting my trip short, coming back and like getting ready. And with anything that we do and anything that you hone or do, like, you got to be prepared beforehand. If you're just going to jump into the water, you're just going to jump into the shoot or the moment, like it's already too late. Like, the batteries weren't charged, all these things. I knew I was like mentally prepared for that moment and to be in the water. And I was like, if I go in for 15 minutes to drink water, what if I miss the best wave of the day? And I was like, I'm not going in. I know I can do this. I know I can stay out this whole day. Treaded water. As long as my battery's good. I had extra batteries on the jet ski in a case. So I knew I could go change that if I really had to, but I was conservative, turning it on, turning it off, just waiting and ready. And that was actually one of the first times that we sent photos from the camera to my phone up to social media for Quicksilver.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So we were doing that from the water. So there's one more element like kind of happening. And there's a funny moment in there where I was like treading water and no one was really around. So I like grabbed my phone and I FaceTime my mom.
In the water.
I'm waiting. I know she's up on the rocks. I know she's waiting. Like, cool. Like, and then like I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm okay. And like I hear like, what are you doing? And it's like Kelly Slater. I'm like, oh, I'm just FaceTiming my mom. It's like,
in the water.
What's wrong with this guy? So there's a couple hairy moments there, and after I couldn't even look at the photos for like 3-4 days because of like the adrenaline and the emotions from it. Like I came in and luckily my agent had flown in for the event and to help me and coordinate on land. He grabbed all the photos, uploaded it, sent it out, worldwide, magazines, print, news, everything. I didn't have to look at it, thank goodness. Because it was too emotional for me to like look back on and do. Like the adrenaline from that day was just so nuts. So, yeah.
How many hours were you out there?
It was 8 hours.
Dude,
8 hours
crazy.
straight.
Treading water.
That is crazy.
And like you're ducking waves. It's not like you're swimming in calm water. You're like ducking waves, dodging surfers, and then...
Yeah, and you know, like the jet ski. So I was on the jet ski at first, and the jet ski, it was so big, it was closing out, so they had to keep going in. I was like, I'm missing,
you're missing
the best wave. Can I jump in the water? And I knew the guys, and they're like, yeah, you can, you know. And so I'd go under the wave, and if they're there, I'd, you know, signal that I was okay and everything, and they'd always keep an eye, come check on me and everything, and I was just like, good. The moment the horn sounded at the end to signal the end of the day, I was like, take me in. Straight in. Didn't even like hesitate. It was like, as it was going, I'm like going in already. I was like, just a shell of a man, you know? So
I mean, they talk about like physically preparing, like surfers have to like physically prepare for it or something like that. But like you, if you're treading waters for 8 hours a day, like you need to train for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's where like cross training and, you know, just being prepared, it's like, you got to treat yourself as an athlete when you're doing this. And so it's like I did swimming and water polo growing up, still swim to this day, a lot of cross training, yoga, boxing, all these different things because, you know, I want to be at optimal levels. And now I don't shoot surf as much. I do shoot when it's like really good and I'm still like want to be that, but that's more of like the fun. I can go out there and just shoot for fun rather than like, oh, I got to go and sell this photo for the magazine or the thing. And so it's like having that like weight off my back of like, okay, like this is just like, you're going to go enjoy, like go out there. It's like, oh man, if you're going out there and you're like, I got to sell these 3 photos and make $180, you're like losing your mind.
Right.
Yeah. So like what was after that, you know, like you're shooting and all these things, like what was like that transition to the next step of entrepreneurship and business and all that?
You know, I think even with like throughout that whole time I was working with different brands, and it was funny because like my dad, and I cannot remember the year, but this was pretty young when I was like started at Surfer, so maybe I was like 24 or 25, and he's like, oh, you'll get some sponsors and things. I was like, Dad, that's just for surfers, like why would I like why would I do it? It's like no, you're going to get like sponsors. And I was like, okay, Dad, whatever. And I then started like slowly working with brands, and it wasn't just like to shoot their campaign or do their thing. I was like in some of the campaigns and I was doing the different things and like doing things with Ruka and all these things. So for him to have that foresight was awesome. And then to just kind of like run and take it and be that like kind of like brand ambassador and how we can grow with it has been amazing. And it's taken me all over the world. A part of Canon's like Explorers of Light, which is a team of 30 worldwide, which is amazing, and get to shoot and get to speak on their behalf and do all these different things. So it's been an incredible journey to kind of do that and keep growing it. You know, I don't know.
Did you plan for, I mean, like, was this what you were planning, you know, when you were going through school and all that? Like,
definitely not.
What do you want to be when you know?
No, definitely wasn't planning for this. And it was something that, you know, I mean, I didn't know what I was planning. I went to school and I didn't finish college. You know, I started traveling. I'm like, oh man, I'm missing a little more school. I'm missing a little more school. Okay, they're like, you better pull out a class or you're going to have like an F. Like, just do a withdrawal right now. Did not finish. So it was all good. It was not something I planned for at all. And it was just, luckily my family and parents were very supportive of it and seeing that. And I would have no idea I'd be at this point or where I am to this day. Even I think every year before, I'm not like, oh yeah, you're never like, you know what I mean? And then like the next year, you're like, oh, I did not see that coming. Seems like that keeps happening, which is a good thing, right?
I feel like when I like look at you over the years, and I've known you for a few years, and it's like you're different than like the typical like surf, quote unquote, surf photographer, where you are exceptional at what you do, but then there's another layer to you that's like really smart, like business smarts, and you're able to get those sponsors. It's like that was a different mindset. It's not like these people are all just like it just showed up at your door one day.
Absolutely, and I think that like, you know, I've seen with a lot of peers and other people. A lot of people just want to shoot and they want to be in. As you guys both know, with like owning a business, you got to do both sides. And if you're not willing to put in that side, you're not going to be able to grow it in that way. And you know what? That's fine, because that's with like any job or any career. There's many people that love to just go that 9 to 5, show up and do it. They're done. They're checked out and doing. Ours never ends.
Yes, exactly.
You know, if the client asks you late night and they're like, hey, you're like, okay, like, and you're doing, because it never ends, but it's your passion in doing that. And so by seeing that, I was like, oh, you know, like There's some that just want to be told, okay, go shoot on this day, and they're done. And then they go and wait for the next job to come or do things. And it's like, I want to be able to like bridge that gap and help those people as well and do that. But that was something I was always good with, because like, as we know, like talent is a portion, but it's like also like your relationships and your business sense of like how you work with the client that will accelerate you tenfold. You know what I mean? Like I see people that are extremely talented, but if you don't have that ladder, you're not going to go anywhere, and they're not going to come back. And it really is a fine balance that I feel like, you know, especially in Hawaii, some people don't want to have that or don't want to do that other part of it. They you know, they see the visual component and they're happy and that's fine.
And they're stoked on that already.
Or even like maybe a newer generation that things come quicker or easier and you're able to just like instant gratification with social media or whatever. But yeah, there's that other part of it. It's hard work, and it's not like postable, Instagrammable. It's not like, you know,
not glamorous, guys.
It's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, as you guys both know. There's many times you're sitting there just like ready to bang your head into the computer or do these things, or you're chasing payment from a client and you're doing those things. Like it's, you know, we do it for the love of the creation, and I feel like that's where we have been able to like kind of excel in that way. Kind of like hone our skills.
So what has kept you going, you know, like all these moments and whatnot, you know, what's your why? Like, why are you doing all this?
Why? I love to create. I love to kind of challenge myself. And, you know, as Kobe was saying, I'm diving more into like video, which is a whole new foreign world for me. And it's been a lot of fun and doing those things. And then like recently I had to do like an edit because something fell through with someone else. I was like, holy cow, like you're ready for your crash course in like editing. And it didn't turn out that bad. Like the client was like, wow, this is great. So I was like, okay. I don't have the time to do both though. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you really got to like, it's good in the beginning. You wear every hat. But at a certain point, we all need to see where our time is best used. And mine, you know, whether it's like the actual capture and then like, even like client relations, you know what I mean? Like that's where,
that's a whole other side of things.
Absolutely. But like, it can't be everything. I would love to just sit in front of the computer and edit, but like, you know what I mean? Like for me, I'm like, it probably takes someone else like 2 hours, take me like 8.
And there are people who love to edit. And so, or love to like write captions for social media, you know?
And I think that's like where like the whole entrepreneurship mindset comes in, right? It's like, how do you play on everyone's strengths and like solve problems?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're better at this, delegate this and whatnot. So it's like, that's how you excel.
What has been one moment in your career that was like really hard, where you had to like really overcome something hard? Because I love those stories from entrepreneurs where it's like, you see them at this point in their career, but
you see all this on social media.
People
see all this glamorous stuff.
Didn't always come easy. It wasn't always easy. So what was like maybe one big moment where you had to like really overcome something? Everything was always easy for ZAK NOYLE.
Can't think of anything right now. I mean, I'm just thinking back from like when I left Surfer or things like that, but those were all like decisions on my own for like that evolution of like where I want to go. I think in the past year and a half, I've had more like things I've like overcome in those like actual challenges that have like tested me on like whether burnout or like just like overwhelming me in that sense. And that's been just more like me trying to like maintain and like upright the ship more than anything. But it was all like doable, and they're all struggles or progressions of like the evolution that were like good things. But like in the moment, it's like, how, because I just don't want to let people down. And so putting that on me, I think is the biggest thing of like knowing, but depending on your team is huge. And so I think that's something that like, you know, we were just saying, you can't be good at like everything. And even if you are, you need to do what you're best. And then you need to be able to delegate or like know that you have those things. And so I think finding that of like being able to trust others in that way to like deliver or do those things, it's like,
I think we always talk about it too. Like, you know, once you have that team, it's like, you're not just taking care of yourself now. Like you have this team to take care of. So it's like,
it could be a heavyweight to carry for sure. And then learning to be a leader and to lead a team, it's a whole nother thing that if you weren't already in a management position, that's like a hard thing to learn, like on the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you had ZAK NOYLE as your own brand, and like, so you recently just started something else, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I started an agency with a good friend of mine, Kimo Kennedy, and Kimo comes from a music management background, so he manages The Green, J-Boog, a bunch of different artists, and he worked at Live Nation. And so we went with like the experiential. He's bringing like experiential, and then mine was like content, and kind of marrying the two in something, because they kind of go hand in hand in that sense, and just being able to do that. So started about just almost 2 years, just under 2 years ago, and been growing it slowly and having a lot of fun and learning a lot of things and making a lot of mistakes. It's an upward trend, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. What are some things that you're working on, if you can share?
Some things we're working on. We have a series coming out with Aura Ring, which is a wearable sleep tracker. So we have one on Kai Lenny and Carissa.
I bought one because of you.
Yeah,
because I know you're like all about it. I don't even have mine on, but I'm like, it really like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a really bad sleeper, really light sleeper. So
it really helped me refine a lot of things, because like in those times when I was like struggling with like work or management or different things like that, I started to like refine and take things out of like that I didn't need, because I thought I was sleeping well, but I wasn't. I was like just so tired that I was going to sleep, but I wasn't getting good night sleep. And so kind of like refining those little things of like eating, exercising, caffeine. I mean, I cut out caffeine a year ago, and I feel good just probably like changing like my diet, because I was like, drink coffee all day. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm like have that 3 p.m. crash. And I'm like, oh yeah, I slept fine, but it's like, I wasn't. And so just for me, like personally finding those little things. So yeah, so we got a series with them on like their different surfers and some other athletes that they have. And just looking at some of those things is pretty fun. And we just finished another piece with Kamea on like his mural he had at the Outrigger Reef.
Nice.
And so we just kind of story told and did that. That guy's wild. I love him. I mean, such a talented artist, and like what he does. And then like you get him there, like in front of the computer editing. Oh my goodness. He is as blunt as it comes, but it's good, because then it gets better. You know what I mean? Like where you do it, it's like, don't hold anything back. He's like, I'm not. So it's like, okay. So that's been a lot of fun, and just kind of like learning and kind of doing that, and some smaller like brand videos and different pieces. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, and like you're it's cool to see like that Carissa Moore Aura Ring spot was so sick.
Thank you.
We saw those shots. I was like, yo, check out this shot where he like underwater into her ring. I was like, oh yo, like
So I mean, what has been the best part of just starting your agency? Because that's like a whole different thing than you were doing before, right?
Absolutely. And you know, the reason for starting the agency was something that like I would go to like LA, New York, to like all these big agencies, and like the first thing they do is like sit you down. They're like, oh yeah, like talking, giving their spiel and things, and they're like, look how cool this thing is that we did in Hawaii. And you're like, oh cool, like they brought in a crew and did it. And I'm just
from
like,
LA,
and I'm like, you know, not to be jaded on it, but it was like, we have some of the most amazing talents and creatives here in Hawaii, from photography, cinematography, graphic design, just minds in general. And if we're going to be telling these stories of Hawaii, it should be done by people living and from Hawaii. And so that was where like me and Kim were like, we're changing, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to like, and I get it. There's certain times a certain person needs to come in, or certain things or different things for the clients. I get that. But for the most part, a lot of these pieces and things that are being made should be by these amazing talents, you know, out of Hawaii. And I was just like, so tired of kind of seeing that, where like the entire crew come by and they're like, okay, we're going to hire like 2 assistants. Like, no. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? And like, so it's just like, you know, you want to tell the stories of Hawaii, like worldwide. I mean, let's be real. The brand of Hawaii is probably the most valuable and most well-known brand in the world. Every single big brand in the world touches on Hawaii at some point.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and so it's like, let's take that back. I mean, you guys have been doing it for so long, but we saw that in a different like sense, and with like some social things and different things, and kind of marrying like the experiential with like the content as like the heart of our agency.
Yeah, I love that's powerful, because a lot of our creators honestly leave Hawaii because there's not enough like there's not there's not enough opportunity. We've had so many friends that had to like go to New York, and just it's hard to make it.
Absolutely. And so hopefully, you know, I feel there's a very good like presence in our generation that's kind of coming up, and hopefully, and I'm sure others have tried in that sense, but hopefully with like digital and social, we can really shift that paradigm to make it so they don't have to leave, you know, and give them those opportunities. I mean, during the pandemic, one of the greatest things was we were giving work to all these people, and like, because I don't shoot everything. If I did that, that'd be just you're coming just to shoot with me. No, it's like we figure out their budget, we figure out the things, and we figure out who style or what fits them. And that's the greatest thing. We're giving work and doing that.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, you know, there's some of those creators where they just want to create. They don't want to handle the business side or like, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so like,
some of that, a lot of creators, for them, it's so overwhelming to have to like talk with client and negotiate a contract.
Opportunities.
So I think it's a good balance.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that like you're right. It's not for everyone in that sense. And, you know, I go in at 7 a.m. and I leave at 5, 6 p.m. sometimes. As you know, it never ends. And
or even later.
Absolutely. And you go on. I had to make boundaries for myself. So now I do, because like before it was like 6 a.m., 6 p.m. You know what I mean? And I was like, driving myself.
All the time zones too, like whatever is easy for you,
like,
you accommodate.
Okay, I could take that call 5:30 a.m. They're like, really? I'm like, So it's finding that, and those boundaries are so important that I found, you know, and taking care of myself and finding those like resets and everything. It's very easy, and you've had this for a while, and you've seen those like
that's what I'm still learning, you know, setting the boundaries and that balance.
Because then, you know, you need to take care of yourself or else you burn out. And like that
then you won't be able to take care of your team, and it's like
to be.
Exactly.
Like mentally, physically, that's the death of a company if you don't take care of yourself. So
we've talked about this too. I feel burnout, right? Wasn't that a photocon or something you and I were talking about?
It happens. It can sneak up on you too, because you are doing things that you love to do. So it doesn't necessarily feel like work, or like it doesn't feel hard because you want to do it. But then all of a sudden you're like,
it hits
oh
you.
shit, I didn't eat all day. I haven't been sleeping. I didn't work out.
It's like you're editing and it's like, oh shit, it's 2 a.m. Like what?
So how do you stay balanced? So putting boundaries on your work. What else do you do to like stay balanced?
Absolutely. So before it was like, you know, 6 a.m. grab like a cold brew coffee, get into the office, 10 coffee, do this, you know what I mean? No workout. And I was like, oh no, I'm okay. I got too much stuff to do. Now it's like, okay, workout at 6 a.m. You know, wake up at 5, stretch, meditate, water, you know, 6 a.m. workout, in the office at 7, and then like usually at 3:30, like sharp finish. Going home, kind of reset. I got a sauna at my house, and it's like the best investment ever.
Ooh.
And I need one of those.
Yeah, it's so good. So I do like sauna and ice like that, and it's just like my reset. It kind of like melts your day away and kind of like does that. And, you know, just getting good sleep. That's something so overlooked. No, I'm good. I can just like power through and do it. But it's like that affects like the decisions that you make and what happens and everything. And so it affects your mood. And like you said, we have a staff and we have a team. So we have to lead with a certain level of not only professionalism, but also like compassion and like respect and be able to do that because they look to us. And that's been the toughest thing. I mean, we have 8 employees now, and it's something that like trying to figure out what we're doing, you know what I mean? Or like, I feel like sometimes I go in so early because like they come about 10 a.m. And once they start coming in, I like pulled away from my desk. You know what I mean? So from like 7 to 10 is when I get to work, and then I'm oh, okay, sure. So it's like having those things. But like this Friday we have Mental Health Wellness Day, which is going to be epic. And I'm taking them all out for like activities all over, and there's surprises and games and different things like that, just to really like create a good like bond and everything like that. And
that's important.
I think those are important things.
Yeah, for sure. And that gets overlooked all the time. So
absolutely,
that's awesome.
I think
culture.
it's more for me. The Mental Health Wellness is for me.
There's along for the ride. No, it is like company culture. That is like a huge part of like what would motivate somebody to stay and work with you. I mean, all these people who are working for us, they're so talented, and they could probably work anywhere else. But
100%.
like, so what's next for you?
Just
I feel like you've done it all already.
I've done a lot.
Zach's gonna retire now.
I don't know. Just keep growing this in a thoughtful and like right way, and seeing where we can kind of take it and how we can grow and where we can be. I mean, that's the most exciting thing. I mean, it's interesting always having been my own boss to now have a partner and we're best friends. You know what I mean? So that's good and bad in like that sense. But like there's many times we don't agree and we come to a solution and do it. So I think that's a good like professional relationship as well as friendship. And I mean, I see that guy like all weekend too.
Yeah,
it's like never ends. He's in my house. I'm like, okay, yeah, like we go out. Like, so it's good. I don't know what's like really next. Yeah, I think just like a thoughtful growth and seeing where we can take it, like to really represent Hawaii and, you know, Hawaii by Hawaii.
Yeah, I love that about you though, because you do your work and you keep it true to who you are, where you're from. Like even this campaign with the ring, it's like you care about having good sleep, and so that's what you're putting your energy and work into. Because all of that, like saying yes to something means saying no to other things. So it like really does show like what you care about when you know, take on a project.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone watching has your backpack.
Everybody has Zak's backpack.
So
every time we have an intern, I'll like, and they don't have a camera bag, I like
get
them your backpack.
Thank you. No, that's been
more
wonderful.
Products.
Yeah, well, we have 5 now different items out,
crazy,
so it's been awesome, and kind of developing a few other things. And you know, those are something that I literally have hands-on with. So the first time we did the backpack, I took 5-6 different bags. I'm like, I like this thing on this. I like the zipper on this. I Frankensteined it. I was like, but I want it this color. I want it this shape. And so every time we'd come out with a new iteration or a new product, I go there for days and work. And then I go back to see the samples, test it and do it. So it's always something that I'm very much a part of. It's not just slap my name on or do it. So that's been a really fun thing. And Ruka has seen the value behind it and what we can do and really supported me. So it's been an incredible journey with them and being able to do that. So no complaints there. Yeah.
Can you develop like a cute little messenger bag with like camera slot, laptop that will fit in the overhead compartment?
Okay. Okay. Talk to me after. Yeah, very specific, but okay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the other questions you had was like, why 1117?
Oh yeah, the name.
Oh yeah.
So 1117 stands for 11 feet at 17 seconds, and it's a buoy reading off of buoy 1, which is off of Kauai. And so pipeline holds 11 feet at 17 seconds is the biggest it holds. So it's brainstorm or storm, groomed and refined as it comes across the Pacific Ocean to deliver the best wave/content or product in the world. And that's 1117. So our tagline is making waves. So I wanted something that wasn't just like in your face, like a Hawaiian name or this or that. You know, I wanted something with like meaning to me, but also sounded a little more like elevated. And so I was like, yeah, 1117. And that's 11 feet at 17 seconds. When I see that on the buoys, I'm like, it's good.
I got to be out there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
So in our office, we have a giant swell map from like a thing that has 1117 on it as it's moving across with the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cool little things like
that's awesome. Yeah. No.
So most surfers know what that means, you think?
Yeah, I would say, 11, if you said 11 feet at 17 seconds or different thing, to me, that's the biggest and best it holds.
Nice.
Yeah. Love that.
That's a cool, you know, it's cool to like see like the meaning behind the names and all that. And that's like a deep and true meaning to like something you're passionate about. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and has a good, deeper meaning as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all your success and all the things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, stoked. Hopefully we all work together eventually.
I'm looking forward to it.
Start planning.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening, guys.